Hello, so I'm back with video and post number 2. I'm going to be introducing a tool that is really great and can be used in a lot of ways, and I want to give you a few examples of how to use it and then some resources for you to find out more if you want to. And it's emotional freedom technique, or EFT, also called tapping. Some people refer to it as acupuncture without needles. So this is something that works predominantly with the mind and emotions, but because everything is so intertwined, it can help with the physical as well. So I want to make this practical, and I'm going to give you resources. So I want to just dive straight into doing some EFT. So you can tap along. I'm just going to give you a brief tour of the points to begin with, and you can look at the details of where the points are afterwards, but actually don't worry about getting the points so exactly. These are acupuncture points that we're gently tapping on, but we don't need to have the same kind of precision as an acupuncturist, so that's great. So there's a point on the side of the hand. It's actually quite close to where the little finger, if you bend here. Some pictures you'll see it in the middle, but actually you can just tap with the flat of your hand and you'll catch it. Next is at the top of the head. Again, you can use several fingers, the flat of the hand. So don't worry too much about it for now. Then we've got on the inside of the eyebrow, outside of the eye, just below the eye. And for these pointers, it doesn't matter which side of the face you do it. Next one is upper lip, then bottom lip. Got a collarbone point. So if you find your collarbone, it's just in a dip beneath it, quite close to the sternum. Again, you can use several fingers to get it. Next one is the side of the body. Sort of for gents, it would be sort of nipple line. For ladies, probably where your bra strap usually would go. So you can just use the flat of your hand to tap gently there as well. Next one, I'd like to introduce some points on the arm. So just across the wrist, and then on either side of the fingers. Okay, so the actual points are on the specific side of the finger, but to save us trying to remember where they are, just tap on either side, okay? And it doesn't actually matter which order you do the points in. Only thing is that we use this point to do a setup phrase to begin with. And I'm gonna touch on that in a moment. And then we're I start at the top of the head and move downwards because it just has that flow. You don't have to do it in that way. And as I said, if you want to tap on this eye here and then across over to there with that one, etc., it doesn't actually matter. Now, what does matter is that we are tuning into how we're feeling and how we're thinking as we're tapping. And sort of in a nutshell, EFT is a way to help the body and our nervous system process something that might be locked down a bit, something that causes disruptions in our bodies. This could be anything from what we're feeling right now that's perhaps overwhelming, and I want to do some tapping on that in a moment. Or you could tap on things that have happened in the past that you're feeling guilty about or angry about or anything like that. So there's lots of uses for EFT. You can tap on physical symptoms as well, like chronic pain. Usually you will find that there's some emotions related to that as well. And as you're tapping, things might shift and move, and you just update what you're tapping on and you go with what's happening in your body. And also, as I'm tapping, as you see, there's points on the face. Of course, with the current environment, just be sure that you exercise good hand hygiene. I forgot to say that in the beginning. So yeah, follow the advice that you have to hand, okay? So the setup phrase. The usual pattern is for us to essentially acknowledge what is, and then that we accept ourselves regardless. So first bit starts with even though, and then we fill in a blank in the middle of what's going on. I love and accept myself anyway. that bit is a phrase that, depending on where you learn about EFT, that can change. And actually, I'll hopefully touch on a few other variants in the end. But the general concept is, even though I have this fear, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I love and accept myself anyway. Or I'm a good person, I'm a good man, I'm a good girl, etc. Okay, so we want to do that as we're tapping here. And what I want to do as an exercise now that everybody can do whenever, and it's a nice link to the previous video that I had on breathing, because our breathing is well, strongly affected by our emotional state. So is our immune system, which is why this can be incredibly powerful and great not only for general health care, but for staying as strong as you can and as healthy as you can in the current environment. So if we take breathing as an example, most of us have some constricted breathing. This is a constricted breathing exercise, if you like, and it can be a gateway to other things. So usually if I'm working with a client, that can bring up something that we'll then follow and tap on specifically afterwards. So unfortunately I can't do that right now because this is a recording, right? But take the principles with you and ask any questions you have. So what I'd like you to do is just take a deep breath. Try to breathe as deeply and as fully as you can into your belly, into your chest, and notice where there's perhaps restrictions in your body, and you want to breathe fully forward, backwards, sideways, sort of this all around 360, well actually 1080 if you want to be kind of more specific about this spherical breathing. Notice where, and have a sense of how fully can I breathe. Just, you can take a few breaths. From 0 to 100%, how fully can you breathe right now? So it might be 70%, 80%, 90%, 50%, whatever it is for you. Just take the number that comes to you. You don't have to think too exactly about it. Whatever number comes to you, that's the number. Now, where did you notice restrictions? Perhaps in your chest, perhaps in your ribs, perhaps in your belly, perhaps in your back. Notice where that was. We're going to use that in our setup phrase and when we're tapping. Notice if there's any feelings associated with this restriction or in general in your body. You can add that. Can you name that feeling? What does that feeling feel like? Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? If you were to touch it, would it have a texture? This is the language of our subconscious, and that's a key part of what we're working with. So just bringing any specifics that you have. So I'm just going to do an example now, and you can tap along and do this yourself, but put in your specifics. Okay. Even though I have this constricted breathing, I can only breathe to 90%, and I feel the tension in my chest. I love and accept myself anyway. This constricted breathing. I can only breathe to 90%. I've got tightness in my chest. This constricted breathing. I can't breathe fully. This constricted breathing. This constricted breathing. I can only breathe to 90%. This constricted breathing. This tightness in my chest. This constricted breathing. This constricted breathing. Can't breathe fully. This constricted breathing. So as you see, as we're tapping on the points throughout the body, after doing the setup here, like karate chop point, we're repeating all the specifics, essentially the acknowledging of what is. And as we're tapping, it just helps our body process so that those things don't have the same effect on us anymore. And you might feel a shift quite soon, you know, before you even finish tapping all the points. Now, if you have any, let's say, more constriction left, let's say if I went from 90 to 95, you can take another breath and feel, okay, where is it now? You can do another round, saying, you know, even though I still have constricted breathing, I can only breathe to 95 and fill in any details, blah, blah, blah. I love and accept myself anyway, even though I still have this constricted breathing at 95, etc., etc. So that's the basic recipe of EFT. And you can do this even if you're just feeling like a lot of emotions right now. You don't necessarily even need to put this phrase on it. If you're feeling strong emotions right now, you can then take a moment, if you can, to sit with them and just tap. Help your body process those emotions. You don't need to verbalize things necessarily. That in itself can be a great tool. Okay, especially for some of us who may not have been raised to express emotions very easily and freely, which is quite a large proportion of the population, I believe, at the moment. I've been one of them. Hence, I discovered tools like EFT. So, I was going to touch on one other specific area to give some examples. So let's say you might just be feeling overwhelmed. You may not be able to name anything. You could do things like, even though I'm feeling overwhelmed and I don't know what to do, and feel any other details, I love and accept myself anyway. Feeling overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, feeling overwhelmed, etc. You can tap on that. You can change the setup phrase and say, even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm a strong person and it'll be okay. I'm feeling overwhelmed, etc. So you can change that to the last bit. Yeah. So I hope that gave you an insight into how you can use EFT. And as I said, I'm going to throw some other resources at you so you can take this tool and use it. Go deeper with it if you wish. As I said, it's quite a safe and easy tool in the sense that you don't have to worry about whether you're tapping the right thing or what might happen if you tap on something in a way that an acupuncturist needs to be careful about where they needle and how they needle, how long the needles are in, etc. So this really is helping your body process whatever is going on. And research has shown that this really literally changes our brains. So I had a book somewhere. One moment. Back. So Peta Stapleton, actually I'm going to link to a video from her. She's summarized a lot of research on EFT. So showing things like how it's literally changing DNA as well. So it is powerful, it's free, it's easy to take for granted. Some time ago you had to pay thousands of dollars or pounds or whatever currencies to get treatment, to learn it. And now it's free, it's amazing. Let's use it. Any questions? Put them in comments and I'm happy to answer them. Okay, all the best for now.